Hey folks, it's the Jeff and Dan Show. Tonight we're going to talk about death and what it means to the bottom line of life.
And deaths that make you go,
And then we'll do top 10 most important things in life.
What not to say at a funeral.
And Dead Artists Club game.
And how I know God is real.
We're putting the fun back in funeral tonight, only on the Jeff and Dan Show.
It's Wednesday. It's 7 o'clock. It's time for the Jeff and Dan Show. Friends, families, brothers, sister, dearly beloved, we gather today, insert date here, to honor and remember brother and or sister select one, and to console one another in this, use a dramatic pause here, our time of grief. And if we may, for a moment, draw upon the memory of the deceased, and remember in times of darkness and in times of sunshine, he and or she was always there for us. He and or she had that certain something or other about specifically mention the name of the deceased. And now, in our dark hour of grief, we lay now to rest our beloved friend, brother, sister, father, mother, co-worker, select one, or use deceased's full name. And all present said amen. Amen.
Amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, before you leave the viewing and or wake, please feel free to sign the guest book. And please leave your address so we here at the Jeff and Dan Show, Funeral Home and Creamery, half off drinks and slushies after 5 on Tuesdays, can send you some literature and some sales brochures. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am Dan of the Jeff and Dan Show. I am your funeral director for the evening. So let's meet our host, Jeff the Mortician. Jeff, how are you tonight, sir?
I am wicked, sir. Wicked, wicked. I am one wicked dude.
You are wicked, my brother.
I am. I try to be wicked. And tonight's not even going to be any different. I'm going to definitely be wicked as hell, because first we're going to go and talk a little seriously about death, and I have quite a show lined up for that.
Well, let's get right to it.
Let's get right to it, yes. So, okay, death. Everyone and everything you know is going to die. Everything. It doesn't matter what it is. Nothing lives forever. We can try to do everything to avoid it, but it is inevitable. And believe me, there are a lot of people that put in money and time and effort into trying to figure out how to avoid it. At some point in your biological processes will cease to continue on, causing a permanent end to what you know as life. But what we want to discuss is what leads us to death in the process of dying and the finality of it. We tend to lightly think about death, but to sit and really ponder death isn't a frequent moment in our lives, which is what... Shit, sorry, I almost shot myself over here. I was shooting at Dan. No, I dropped something. No, we definitely don't often think about death, and that's something we really need to do. So let's start off with a definition of what death really is. Cellular death by biological expiration, caused when the body or the heart ceases to function, ending its providing vital blood supplies to all areas of your body. So basically, your heart stops, you don't get blood anymore, your brain stops, and then eventually your whole body comes to death. But death cannot be defined, since we are not really sure what death means. What that means is we do not know what is on the other side, or even if there is another side. In order to understand death, we first need to be able to define, without a doubt, life. We need to know what life is. We cannot define life or death as consciousness, because an amoeba is alive, but it lacks the consciousness by that definition. So we can't consider that. And it's really difficult to try and determine what life and death are, because who knows? It could be the dream of some kind of person who's just thinking about, something, and you're just there that life. Or it could be exactly what it is, and that you biologically are created, you raise up, You learn about life, and then you die. You expire. The other thing is there's an innate human sadness. Every human that is moved, touched by another's life, they mourn for that life if it is extinguished, if they die. Humans are more prone to being upset if the life was snuffed out at an inconvenient time, or if the person died for a poor reason, or if the victim of the death is young. Some of those things very much like, and I, just briefly touch upon those, are times when people get killed and you would think they had so much left in their life. But who's to say? They might have only been here for that one specific reason. And in my life, I used to call those fillers. They're the ones that fill other people's lives so that they go on and do inspirational things. See what I'm saying?
Yes, I do. I do believe we all have certain jobs and duties that are based upon our skills.
Right, exactly. Okay, and although we know that death is inevitable, we still need to mourn the losses that we endure. Not many people embrace death because it is our somber reminder that we all will die. That means when you hear about somebody dying and you don't know them personally, more than likely you're touched by the fact that they've lost their life, but it doesn't really get to the heart of you. It's only when you know somebody and how much exponentially you know that person will it really bother you, because now you won't be able to see that person anymore. That's the plain and simple definition of why we are sad when somebody dies. The other thing is folks are scared of death. And it's huge. It's huge. And it's been hundreds of thousands of years that this has been the problem. When asked if they're scared of death, a disproportionate number of people said that they do indeed fear death. And I believe almost everybody you meet does that. It's those really crazy fools that are like, I don't care, I'll die today. You know what I mean?
If they're telling the truth.
Right, exactly.
There is a small percentage that is not afraid of death, but that's because they are fucked in the head.
Right.
But somebody goes, I ain't afraid to die. I ain't afraid to die.
Right.
Ooh, what's that, a spider?
Yeah, exactly. So many try for as long as they can to avoid death, like I had already spoke about, but it eventually comes for them. This understanding is the main theory as to why people may create, fabricate, believe that there is much more after the final minutes of life. Religion is solely based on the fear of death, or at least used as a component to develop a religion and provide a reward for good behavior. In other words, there's that light at the end of the tunnel. There's that heaven. There's that, I'm trying to think of what the Vikings had, a Valhalla. There's Olympus. There's, for all the different religions and all the different cultures of the world, there's different things that you get to when you finally pass on from your ethereal self or your corporeal self. But even those faiths that are not strictly a religion, such as Native American beliefs, have stories for what happens to someone when they go on from this world. Native Americans believe that resurrection is a promising possibility. Reincarnation is another similar belief espoused to the followers of such faith. But in every instance of these faiths and belief, there is never a shred of proof, only hopes and wishes that make the soon departed, the dying, more comforted and accepting of what is about to happen to them, which is actually 100% true. And it's very difficult to realize that that's what it is, but it is true. Whether or not those places do or don't exist, that's exactly the reason why we tell people that, so that they will feel comfortable getting to the other side. And it doesn't, if you can imagine if there's alien worlds, that's probably something that gets done on those alien worlds too. They probably have something where they say, yes, when you get to the other side, you'll be rewarded with riches.
Hell no, we're aliens. We just die.
Right. Death is just, yeah, exactly. Death is just, it's the finality, and you are so scared. And I have heard numerous times people say these exact words as they were just to their point of death. I'm scared. And it's very sad when you hear this, because if you're standing there, you're anywhere close to there, then you know that this person is not only ready to die, it's going to be a finalized thing, but they are legitimately scared, like the most scared they could potentially ever be. And once death finally happens to them, that scared is gone. Everything else is gone. The only thing that happens now is everybody around that person is now scared as well, because they're looking at their own mortality, their own ending. which makes a lot of sense. And that's the thing. Yeah, I don't want to. This is not a thing to tap religion. This is not a thing to just try and destroy or make anybody believe anything. I'm just trying to get to the heart of it, the truth.
This is an open discussion about something that is appointed to each and every man on this planet.
Right.
Death.
Right.
It's kind of like sex. We just don't talk about it because we just don't talk about it.
Right.
And we're all horny as hell and we're all going to die.
Right, yeah. Unfortunately, yeah, both of those things. So there's different methods of death, and these are the collected versions of what methods of death there are. Number one is aging, and that's just normal or biological death.
That's kind of the one I'm going for.
I'm shooting for that. I think everybody shoots for that one. Everybody's like 104, sure, I'll go there. I'm good with that.
No, too old.
Yeah, it's the eventual cellular degeneration that stops biological functions, causing them to cease and stopping the heart and blood flow. So basically, that's, in a nutshell, what aging is.
Shit wears out.
Right.
It just stops.
Exactly. Then there's predation. Predation is when you are a predator and prey. In other words, the human's the prey, and a lion comes and attacks you and kills you and eats you. So that's another way to die, which is unfortunate, especially if you're in the middle of some large city and a lion eats you. Yeah. Malnutrition is another one. That's when you don't get the correct amount of nutrients, you eat the wrong foods or not enough, and in a manner that's incompatible with the requirements of the human body, and which causes system failure.
That is so hard to fathom in this country.
I know, yes. And it does happen. That's the weird thing. It does happen. Disease is one of the next ones. That's any of the differing viruses, ailments, or immunosuppressing
Heart attack?
bodies within. No, just anything that's attacking you for the most part. Not a heart attack though. A heart attack's actually a misnomer. It's not named correctly, but we'll talk about that here in a second. But disease is something that's attacking your body from the inside, and it staves off your ability to function adequately, and that's what ends up killing you. Suicide is the act of taking one's own life. Voluntarily and intentionally. So both of those two things have to exist in order for it to be ruled suicide. By a method of halting the heart or mind's typical production, ending the systematic functions required to maintain life. So that's suicide. Homicide is the taking of another's life, and is exactly the same thing, is voluntary and intentional, but doing it to someone else. And then that's what, they halts their heart or mind, and that's what kills them. Starvation, which is very close to malnutrition, but not the same thing. Malnutrition is doing the wrong thing. Starvation is not doing it at all. So you're not getting any of the body, food in the body to process, which causes the shutting down of all organs of the body to cease continued living. Then there's dehydration, which is the water version of that. Now you can go like 3 weeks without food before you actually start to kill off. Water you can do about a week, and then you start to die because your body will start liquefying you from the inside out. And then the final one is accidents or trauma resulting in terminal injury. Basically, that is, if you're in a car accident and enough of the trauma was enough to kill you, or you fell off a cliff and you hit a thing. The only other one that isn't here, which is the one you mentioned, is like heart attacks, heart disease, myocardial infarction, which is the proper name supposedly for heart attack, strokes, things like that. Those are all natural death things. You can have those happen, and it's considered natural. So if somebody dies and they find out through autopsy that it's a heart attack, then it's just considered natural. That was going to happen to him. That's how he ended up dying. Now, if they find 4 ounces of coke in your body, that might be a little bit different at that point, and then they might not, go through the whole thing as being, hey, it was 100% natural. So those are methods of death. The one thing I want to talk about next.
Do you happen to have what is the most common?
Yes. In developed countries, heart disease
is the most common
common form of death. Yes. In underdeveloped or developing countries, it is one for the women in undeveloped and underdeveloped and developing is childbirth. But the other one, that's for the women there. But the other one that's most, I believe, is malnutrition. It ends up killing more people. I know, right?
There's this planet can produce plenty of food.
Right. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But there's no excuse for that other than human behavior. Anyways, next.
Yeah. So let's talk about rituals of death.
Okay, let's talk about
The
rituals.
interesting thing here is the majority of the civilized world has a last few moments with the dead. It's a viewing. Basically, you go to a funeral, it's a viewing. Then they have a burial procession or cremation, which is they take the body out to the site or they cremate the body and give you the urn. And the final words, a eulogy, are usually said over the deceased. Catholics and a few others believe in the last rites. That's a reading from the Bible that creates a pathway for those repentant to death. For those repentant to travel to heaven after their death. So in other words, it's like providing a road so that they can go and, make that trip to heaven if they're worthy. And then you have to get to the gates and kind of, if you've been a serial killer and you just got electrocuted, then more than likely you're probably not going to get in. Another version, a ritual of death, which is interesting, is called Indo-cannibalism.
Ooh.
Yes, it's where the tribe eats their dead. And the reason being is because they're being efficient, which kind of does make sense, which brings up the next one, which is Tibetan Buddhists' celestial burials, which is where the body is fed to wild animals, usually things like vultures or deer or antelope or whatever they have there in Tibet. And it's not necessarily just in Tibet, too. It's other places. But they basically take your body and feed it to wild animals.
Yetis.
Their thinking is this. If you're Buddhist, you're thinking that your body's nothing but a vessel. So your spirit has lifted or has gone away. Your soul has moved to another town. And and your body is nothing but a shell. So they think, why not give it to the animals who really need something to eat? See what I'm saying? So it does make sense that they do that, but it's unfathomable.
I don't know if it's a good idea, but I do know that all of us return to the earth.
Right.
We all return to the earth, and something eats our body somewhere.
Right, at some point in time.
It's usually microscopic organisms.
Yeah. It's inside of us that have eaten their way out.
Something eats us, something eats that, something eats that,
Right.
something eats that. And
Right.
before you know it, we're in a fox.
It's a giant, it's a giant 100%. And the reason why this death idea came up for me for this show, and I'll share this. I was driving to school the one day, and I looked over, and I saw several vultures. And they were picking apart a fawn who had fallen, and I don't know if it died in the road or had died got hit on the road and then died in the field. But it was in the field that they were at, and they started eating. And I thought to myself, what would those vultures taste like? Because you've seen vultures. You know how big they are. They're bigger than turkeys. They're huge.
And they're big and ugly.
Yeah, they're disgusting, but they're just a bird. But think about it. The only thing in their diet is other dead animals. So what the hell do they taste like? You know what I mean?
Well,
Are they like chicken?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. But what's really weird is the animals don't usually taste or have that kind of whatever about them, because like a cow, we eat steaks and we eat the meat and big hearty meat, and,
Right.
yum. All it eats is grass and greens.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
It's a vegetarian,
Yeah.
and it's making all that meat. A
Yeah.
chicken,
There's another one, yeah.
chicken. Good. Certain fish, fish will
Yeah.
run the hell out of some other things.
Right.
But you're not big into fish, I know. But you eat
I eat
fish.
fish,
Fish
yeah.
is kind of light.
Yeah.
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah, it's not a meaty meat. It's like a very light type meat. Yeah. I
So
know.
it just seems to me that you are the dish that you're opposite of eating.
Right? Yeah.
So like we're actually humans are omnivores, but I would say most of us are heavy on the carnivore side.
Right, yeah.
And
Meat at every meal, usually.
yes.
Yeah.
So we would taste like a lighter food, like
That's what I think, too. But I'm not really willing to try it.
I'm not willing to try it either.
Everybody come down to the buffet. Jeff died. We're having a buffet. Buffet/funeral. Have a leg. Have a leg. Here's
Careful of those nuggets.
Yeah. They're a little salty. Anyway, the rituals of death. Now, here's some interesting ones. A Viking funeral. Okay. A Viking funeral burned up on a freshly sailed boat. Now, that's not the interesting part here. You would take and push this boat out to sea and burn it. And that's not the interesting part. The interesting part is this. That person, usually of, higher stature, somebody that had some power, is accompanied by a slave girl who was forced to have sex with all the Vikings of the camp. She had to go into each and every one of their homes and fuck every one of them. Then she goes in and has sex with 6 of the tribal members. In other words, the people that are highest up. She has a gangbang. They fucking gangbang the hell out of her. Then they keep her drunk throughout this whole period. And then they choke her to death. And she finally gets stabbed by a camp matriarch. In other words, like the oldest woman probably in the camp, after she's been choked to death, stabs her until she's dead. And then she gets placed on the ship with the guy and sent to sea.
So they have to do with these slave girl things for each and every death?
Yes. Well, the ones of importance, yeah.
The ones of importance.
Yeah, so basically like a lieutenant or higher is kind of what I'm looking at. Like somebody that has some say, you know what I mean? Like the power to be able to do certain things.
That's still a lot of slave girls.
Oh, yeah. And especially when you have a guy that died, now you have a woman that died, but guys die all the time in battle. They don't have time to do this shit in battle, so they end up doing the whole thing only for people that died that got returned home or were at home when they died. So it's then, but it's a waste of a lot of females. But as they saw it, since so many men died during battle, there was a lot of females to begin with anyway, so why not kill some off? And
There's extras of these now.
And I'm just thinking to myself, man, Vikings were gay. I wouldn't want to kill off the slave girls. She's already doing a lot of shit. I mean, come on. She's drunk. She's going into all these dudes' rooms and getting laid. You know what I mean? At this point, I'm thinking, wow, this is really fucked up. You're going to take this girl and kill her and throw her out to sea with this guy who's already dead. He doesn't give a shit. I promise you that. You know what I mean? He's just like, oh, great. Yeah, you're dead too. That would be wonderful. So, yeah, it's kind of messed up. But on to Valhalla from there, apparently. Another ritual of death, the South Korean burial beads, which is an interesting thing. I know, it's very, very strange. It's not like anal beads. It's beads. But what happens is their loved ones are cremated. Yeah, oh yeah, look, you got beads. Sweet. Mardi Gras, baby. The loved ones are cremated due to a lack of space. Because Korea is so small and South Korea is at the end of the peninsula, they don't have a lot of room to be burying fuckers, you know? So they got to do something. So they cremate them and then they turn them into beads and give them to the family.
Oh, joy.
I know, right?
Oh,
it's
wow.
wickedly disgusting, but, you know, hey, it works apparently. So.
Oh, wow.
And we have these rituals usually for the alive and grieving people, the ones that we do when people are alive just before they die and then after they die. We have our own rituals, and a lot of them are very, very strange. Some of them, I know in the African American population, the women will scream very loudly, which is actually an African thing. They have where the people, if you don't scream loud enough for the person closest to you who has passed away, you get shunned by your neighborhood. Your village just says, fuck you, you didn't love them enough, and then they shun you, which is just very, very strange, which has transferred here to America. And then there's a lot of times when there's a funeral going on where a black woman will go ballistically ape shit in the middle of a viewing or, you know what I mean? And it's just like, wow. You know, to us, it's like, that's just very strange. But to them, it's natural. So we all have...
The black community as a whole seems better to show their feelings. They're emotional.
Yeah.
They're more in touch with their emotional side.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, that and religious. Their religiosity is very, very, very staunch. They believe in God, and what they believe in God, they also believe that things will happen to them in much the way the Bible says it will. Which is a lot more than I can say for most white Christians. Not most. I would say probably about half. Because a lot of Christians I know will actually go out and curse all week long and get drunk or have an affair on their wife or turn gay for a day or whatever. You know what I mean? Seriously, there's a lot of, like, especially people in higher power, like senators and stuff, where you hear these stories where, like, they went to a convention and no, they weren't looking for women to fuck. You know what I mean? It was just like gay for a day, and then they came back and everything was the same, and their family and wife and everything was, you know. So it's not, you know, it's not something that we, you know, we tolerate too well. But blacks, they don't fuck around. They really, really do have their religion, and they're really strong about it. So, and then that doesn't make them better than anyone. It doesn't make us better than anyone because we go out and fuck gay for a day or whatever. But, it's just one of those things. Everybody's got their own thing, and that's cool. And I'm fine with that.
I'm guilty of the same thing. I'll swear up and cuss up a storm, and I'll look at a woman or two, and
impure thoughts.
And maybe I'll partake of some intoxicants a little bit more than I should.
Yeah.
And
God put it here on purpose, man.
Yeah, I'm a moderation guy. Everything in moderation.
Right.
Everything in moderation. You can have too much bacon.
Oh, yeah.
I know that sounds hard to believe.
I know, it is.
But
it's very hard to believe. You're lying. You are lying.
Sodium nitrate does not lie.
There's no such thing as too much bacon. Unless they came off something besides a pig. Then maybe.
Yeah, the thing is, too much bread.
Like turkey bacon. You want some more turkey bacon? No, fuck that. Thank you, though, man. I think I'm just going to eat this carpet. Anyway. Here's some examples of experiences in death. Some people believe the idea that when you die, you are still able to sense everything around you, but without the ability to move or communicate. My wife is a believer of this. She thinks that when she dies, she doesn't want to be cremated. She wants to be buried because she thinks she's still going to need her body in some manner or form. And I've tried to explain it to her. I was like, your body's not, it doesn't matter. If you are going to end up going to heaven or wherever you end up, I promise you your body will regenerate to whatever it's supposed to look like or whatever you want it to look like. So there's no need to have your corporeal, your vessel, stay intact. There's no reason for it.
Does she believe that somehow her spirit or her life or soul or whatever seeps out in the rotting process?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No. She believes it's going like right away. But she thinks that you're going to need that body because, if you give up, organs for organ, she's an organ donor. Don't get me wrong, but if you give up an organ, for example, you won't have eyes in the afterlife. You won't have a liver in the afterlife, and these things will affect you.
This is the same department in heaven that watches the Facebook to see if you like and share about Jesus.
Right?
Or not.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
So look. She donated her eyes and her lungs, so she can't see what she's smelling.
That's right. She can't see how much booze she's drinking.
God love her.
Yeah. So another experience in death, examples of experiences. Seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. I know we touched on this before. Our heavenly body or all of the person's dead relatives and friends are all examples of how religion has played a part in the lives of those witnesses. The mind is powerful and be very simple to conjure up those calming images, especially if under the spell of pain drugs like morphine. But those visions have also been studied and are believed to mainly be caused, and I did research on this, are mainly caused by a deficiency of dopamine and oxygen in the brain simultaneously. So that's the reason why they believe when people are brought back that they saw something, because their mind is being forced without dopamine and without oxygen to create these images or create this thing. Because our mind does go on after we die, but not very long.
I just read an article that they did some studies, and of course it's not a law or anything, but they concluded, or at least the evidence points and suggests, that your mind is still active or living or aware in some state or another for 5 more minutes after clinical death.
Yes, it's just the same as they tell you the person that drowned has like 5 minutes before they're dead. You've heard that before. I'm pretty much sure everybody's kind of heard that.
No, well, I heard it was like 1 minute you're out of oxygen.
No.
1 minute or 10 minutes?
It's 5 minutes. It used to be 3 to 5 minutes, right? If you stop breathing, you're 3 to 5 minutes before your brain. They've proven that is not necessarily the case every single time.
Correct.
Because there are kids that have fallen under ice and weren't gotten out for 35 minutes and then resuscitated and brought back to life.
Yes.
And those children had nothing wrong with them, except for the fact that, they could conjure demons every once in a while. It's really weird, but yeah.
I think it's the freezing process that kind of freezes the into the state that they'll be okay.
Right.
And Cyro, what is it, Cryer?
I was getting ready to talk about that, yep. Well, one thing I want to touch on before we leave that is almost all people want to believe that more happens than just nothing. Nobody wants to be told when you die, nothing happens. Because that's just a shitty process altogether. I was born from nothing and now I'm going back to nothing. That's not cool. So yeah, let's talk about prevention or the cheating of death.
Did you exist before you were aware?
That's the thing. See, nobody knows.
Yes.
I kind of believe we were. It's like a reincarnation kind of thing. Your soul gets used up again, like the movie The Seventh Seal, where they talked about, all the souls are stored in what they call the Guff, which is like a big giant mansion of nothing but souls. And they continue using those souls to create new living people. But here's the problem with that connective theory. We started with supposedly 2 people. So where did all these spirits come from? So, yeah.
I do not have an answer.
I came up with a really great plot line for a movie one time, and I'll explain this really quick. I came up with this plot line. The plot line was simply this. When you die, your your spirit gets stored kind of like in heaven. It's not really a pleasurable thing. It's not really a hateful thing. It's just kind of like a box. You get stored there. Okay.
Are you aware?
You are aware to an extent, yes. Your soul's aware that it's there, and it's aware of everything that's around it and the other souls that are there. Whether or not you can communicate, I have no idea. But the important part here is that when you're reborn, when your soul gets taken and put into a body, all of your past lifetimes calculate how smart you will be. So if you have 50 prior lifetimes, you have learned stuff through all that time, and you are extremely smart. But if you're a brand new kind of spirit, let's say you were created from somewhere or something came about, then you would be not as smart. Because I know, and you know it, we've met people that are just like, I can't fucking believe you're this dumb. You know what I mean? And you kind of have to wonder, why are they this stupid? Were they dropped on their head? Is their spirit not up to date? Have they, only gone 1 or 2 times? You see what I'm saying? And I have met people, and I know you've met people too, where you just look at them and you go to yourself, you say to yourself, my God, they're an old soul. They're so above and beyond everything you see. This kid is an old soul. They smile at you whenever they see you, and you know that they're thinking something to the effect of, oh, he's just as handsome as he was when I died. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And you just have to sit there and think to yourself, that's an old soul. That's what they mean by that. So that was the premise of the movie. The premise of the movie was that our souls are always reinstated and always being used. And I don't know where the new souls come from, but they do have new souls because they have to be made somewhere, because our population just keeps increasing. There's no way to be able to stop that. So we have to create.
There has to be at least 6 billion souls.
7 billion.
So we up to 7 now?
Yeah, we're almost 8 billion now. Yeah, damn. I know, right? And they're saying by 2050, we're looking at 10 billion. So, yeah, especially
10
now.
billion souls.
Especially now since China gave up on the one-child policy. So, yeah, they're the most active when it comes to this. But they were having a high birth-death ratio, which was really bad for them. It means they were losing more people than they were gaining. Yeah. So there for a while it was pretty screwed up.
Some other countries are having that problem too. I think we're one and Russia's one.
Yeah, I think we're getting to that point now. But preventing or cheating death. So the one you were just talking about was cryogenic freezing. And we'd kind of talked about it a little bit before. It's a name. It's called cryopreservation. That's the name of it. It's when a select few people in the world believe that whatever is going to kill them may be able to be fixed in the future. In other words, you've got a brain tumor. You can't fix it now. So these people that have that, they opt for having their head or head and body frozen to be thawed out at a later time and reanimated. So in other words, their head's going to be frozen completely right where it was at. And a lot of the times it is just the head. You just cut it right off and go with the head because it's a lot more safe. You don't need that huge body, especially in the future. Medically, we can change that. We can put you into a different body or whatever. And then they reanimate you at a later time. Will they be the same person is the question. Because if you believe in a soul and a spirit, are you freezing their soul and spirit in their body if you cryogenically freeze them? Will they have all of their thoughts, feelings, and personality as they did before cryopreservation? In other words, will they be the same person? Will you be Dan if you wake up 200 years from now and become, your cancer has been taken care of, or your Alzheimer's has been taken care of, or whatever? Will you be that same person? Will you have the same personality, the same feelings, the same thoughts, or will you become fucking Adolf Hitler, or will you become the Dalai Lama? You know what I mean? These things are questions that come up when it comes to cryopreservation, which is very unlikely to work. But anyway, what were you going to say?
I'm just listening, man.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Cool. Another way to prevent or cheat death that they're also looking into is nanotechnology. Nanotechnology is, in the interim, scientists believe that they will very soon be able to create nanobots, which are microscopically small inorganic creatures, basically little robots capable of fixing the smallest of problems. And then we will be able to have them repair cellular damage of all kinds, essentially cheating death. In other words, we won't go through cell death anymore because the nanobots will keep us going. So we'll live forever. The only problem with that is, and this is the one that has been around for a long, long time, if you have little ones like that, little nanobots, they have to be able to recreate. They have to be able to regenerate themselves somehow. Unless you have somebody that's constantly flowing nanobots into your body, they're going to have to regenerate. In order to do that, they're going to need parts. In order to do that, they're going to have to formulate those parts, which means they're going to have to take either stuff from the ground beside you, from within your house, within your body, somewhere. They're going to have to get it from somewhere. And the problem with that is if they go on that tangent and start creating others, then those are going to start wanting to create others, and it's going to become an infinite loop that will eventually consume the whole universe. Eventually, it'd be one giant gray putz. A bunch of schmutz all over the place. So that's the one thing they're worried about. And it's not so easy as to just say, oh, we can make sure they don't do that, because it's just not that simple, especially when they're as small as they are. As big as a blood cell is basically how big they are. The other thing is brain removal and transplantation. And that is, some in the scientific world believe, and it has already happened, in the ability to take your brain out of your decaying body and put you into the body of a younger, more easily repaired body.
Yeah, no, there's no moral questions. There is there.
Right. And here's the thing. A great example of that would be, we just lost Stephen Hawking, Dr. Stephen Hawking. That guy's mind was incredible. I mean, unfathomable the shit that guy could think of. It was just crazy stuff. Like, a brief moment in time is just, it's definitely the most difficult thing to explain, but at the same time, if you get the synopsis of it, you're just like, I can't even fathom how this guy thought of this shit. There's just no way around it. It is pretty incredible stuff. He just died because not only did he get too old, but he was suffering from ALS. As a matter of fact, I believe he now holds the world record for the longest living person with ALS.
I'm pretty sure he does.
Yeah, because he had it 40 years, something like that, and most people don't even last 5.
I was going to say you get a sentence of 5 years.
Yeah, and that's basically that. But imagine if we could take out his brain and put him into a body that didn't have ALS and was a lot younger. Then that body would start creating the tissue and everything that it needed to do and basically reboot his whole body, reboot himself. There has been I don't know the outcome of it, but if you look it up in the news, there was a recent case where doctors removed the brain from someone whose body was like rotting for the most part from the inside out and put it into another body who was donated. So basically, in essence, they've transferred this person's personality, their likes, their soul, everything from that body to this other body. And I'm not sure, like I said, I don't know what the outcome was, but they were talking about doing it. And they said it would be possible to do it, but it is a 36-hour surgery.
That was an Italian doctor, wasn't it?
Yes. Yep.
Yes, I did hear about that surgery.
Yeah. So I don't know what the outcome is. I didn't read about it, but maybe everybody out that's listening out there, maybe they'll take a look for it, see what happens with the first brain transplant.
36-hour surgery.
Yeah, exactly. Could you imagine being that doctor? They had to tap in and out. It's like wrestling. Give me a hand, give me a hand, give me a hand. You know. All right, I'm ready to go, man. All right. No, another one is a great one. is the copying procedure. Now, what I mean by copying is the transporters on Star Trek. Basically, they took all of your information, they broke every little detail of your atomic structure down and made it code. Okay? And they were able to store that code in a computer. And then at will, they could take and atomically reconstruct every bit of you in a different location or different whatever. Now imagine if that same theory, that same probability, that same possibility of you having that done, it records all of your information, but instead it recreates your body as a younger version of you. Then that's called copying. It's not cloning, it's just copying. You copied a person, you right-clicked, saved, pasted, put him there, and there he is. So basically, yeah, that's another one. But that is, again, in the future. It's going to take a very, very long time for that one to come about. And the reason why is because we can't read the atomic structure of a human being. We just now, pretty recently, within the past 20 years or whatever, just now got the human genome figured out, which is like what took for fucking ever, and took millions and millions of computers connected together to try and to figure out mathematically. Yeah, it was pretty daunting. So to figure out how many atoms you actually have in your body is just that right there. The number is just astronomically high. It's still not higher than the United States debt. Anyway, and then the last one, to prevent or cheat death, and this one sort of hinges a little more on the unrealistic, but maybe, I don't know, become a vampire or an immortal. There are a select few people who believe in mythological creatures like vampires of lore or immortals in myth, or the Highlanders, basically like the TV show The Highlanders. And while these things are far-fetched, if you tend to believe in the magical place called heaven, you might be able to fathom this storyline as well. And these beliefs actually have some proof to them, unlike many religions, making them possibly more tangible and easier to make happen. There has been proof that there were what we consider vampires. I don't know about their immortality, who knows? But the thing is, it's just the same as telling this story or telling that story. They are the same things. You could potentially, we don't know, a black hole could be made here on Earth, and we have no idea how it gets done, or it just gets done, and we all end up dying and whatever. That story is just a story. You know what I mean? We can't prove that it's actually going to happen. There's no way to prove it. And that's what makes death so much weirder, is the fact that you can't tell at the end exactly what's going to happen. Nobody can. Nobody can. But I do know this, and this is the one. If the next time that you're out and about and you're by yourself, look around you. Look around at your sights. Look around at all the trees and the clouds and the sky, everything. Just look around and think to yourself, at some point in my life, this is going away, and I don't know what's going to happen next. Because even if you are a Christian, you don't know. You live on faith. Faith is not knowing. Faith is being able to say, I believe that this thing will happen. But you don't know. And at that extent, you must say to yourself, I'm not sure what's going to happen, but I have faith that God's going to do this stuff. And the way I've seen it, and we've talked about this before, is if I can believe in a black hole, which is like the weirdest fucking thing in the universe, then I should be able to believe that there is a God who could have created mankind at some point in time. So, and that's kind of it. I think I have just a list of questions to throw your way.
Sure.
And see what you think. Let's do that. We'll do that real quick. We got a couple of them though. There's a little list here.
Fire away.
Okay. Why do we care so little about things that have died and not? Why do we care so little about things that have died that are not human and have not been close part of our lives? You're driving down the road, see a cat, a deer, a dog, skunks, whatever laying on the road. We don't think about that stuff. We just continue driving. And yes, we do try to avoid them because we don't want them on our tires. Why do we do that? Shouldn't we be more in touch with the fact that these things have died, they've passed on? Should we have some sort of ritual for them instead of just making PennDOT their ritual? You know what I mean?
Maybe some do have a ritual.
Right.
But for the most part, you're correct. We live on an interesting planet, man, and that's we live on an interesting planet. Life is fragile, yet life is strong.
Yes.
We're all earthlings, we're all brothers and sisters, yet it's every species for themselves.
Yeah, that's true. That is very, very true. And a lot of the times it even breaks down to cultures for themselves, every culture for themselves.
And we need, I would have to say, all 11 million species that have been documented. I would say we need them all, directly or indirectly.
I believe it. I could say, yeah, I could believe that definitely. And they need to be here.
And
The thing is, though, is that I think we're getting more and more different ones showing up. And some of the older ones are taking off. They're becoming extinct, so we don't see them quite as much anymore.
yeah.
And those things, it's, I don't know. But we place a great importance on the fact that we get to live and nothing else really does. That's what I'm trying to get to. It's kind of like human beings. We're more important than almost anything else on this planet. Mostly because we have thumbs. But, we also think. We think a lot. We are on a higher plane of existence than almost everything else on this planet. So, that's probably why we are selfishly thinking of ourselves and not caring that, hey, I just killed that kitten in the middle of the road. You know what I mean? Let me ask you this, a hypothetical. Would you give up mortality and become immortal if you could not have children anymore? Think Adam and Eve. Before they went to the Garden of Eden, they knew nothing about, being prudish or a prudish nature or trying to cover themselves up. They didn't realize, oh my God, he's got balls, They were just like, hey, it's all well and good. They didn't need to have sex. They didn't have to think about it. So they were going to be immortal. And then the tree happened. Well, Eve happened, the bitch. Anyway, so would you do that? Would you become immortal but give up the idea of being able to have kids?
Sure.
You would?
Yeah. Is this for mankind's sake or just me?
Just you.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah, I think I would too. I would have to go back in time and forget all the children that I had. Don't get me wrong, I love my kids, but in order to be able to be immortal, that's just, that's incredible.
Well, I'm assuming that if the opportunity presents itself, it presents itself in the modern day, which your kids already existed.
Right. That's true. Yeah, I see what you're saying. So look, if it happened right now.
If it happened right now.
Right, yeah, then yeah, I see what you're saying. If you had the opportunity to freeze your body in hopes that science would someday be able to bring you back to life, would you do it?
No, thanks.
You don't want to cry at
No, thanks.
preservation.
Right. Because, okay, all right, so you figured out pancreatic cancer. Great. What about the other 1,000 things that can go wrong?
Yeah, exactly. That is so true. Think about it. The life is just... have you ever had to put a pet to sleep?
No.
I have had to watch it, and I've had to console friends that after they had it done. But I've never had to do it myself, which is kind of the reason why I never wanted to have kids, and another reason why I never wanted to have pets.
That's kind of a reason why I never wanted to have pets, and it's a reason why I'll never have another pet.
Right. Yeah. Do you believe that you will be born again? Not as a Christian. Literally, are you going to become a baby again at some point and go through that process?
No. I do, however, believe the possibility does exist because I don't have all the answers. But from what I understand and interpret, it's a one and done.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a one and done.
Gotcha.
But go ahead. Go ahead. You can't have a conversation about death without talking about God.
Sure.
But I'm waiting for that, so
yeah.
I'm waiting for that.
No, it's cool. I have one on here called spirituality, so we could do that. But have you ever lost someone to death that was so young? Too young to die, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, I just moved into my place where I graduated high school, and I got to join the football team, and I was on the football team, and I made friends with this kid. His name was Tim Strout. And he was a year behind me. We were teammates. We got along and stuff. And we even hung out one night at a carnival talking about Star Wars and shit. And then summer came along. And he was riding his bike, got hit by a car.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, my very first year. Went to a viewing there and just like, damn.
The realism behind it is just amazing. It's
aside from that, that's the youngest viewing funeral thing that I've ever been close to.
Did you ever Did you ever have a suspension of emotion when that kind of thing happened? Have you ever had anything in your life? Doesn't have to be death. It could be anything. It could be something just where your emotions are suspended until you get to a point where you just realize that this is what's happening, and then they hit you all at once. In other words, like, did your, not in your case necessarily, but did your dog die? And then at first you were distraught, but you weren't like, the emotions weren't there just yet. But then like that night you got hit all of a sudden, like a wave of emotion just hits you. Have you ever had that happen?
I can't say as if I have, but I totally understand it. It's probably more real for men. First, let's tackle the situation. Let's be on the situation and deal with it logically.
Right.
And then when it's put away, nothing else to fill that void, then the emotions come rolling in.
Right.
But guys want to deal with the situation quickly, bury the body or whatever.
Right.
Clean up the mess, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because there's things that need attention to. We can cry later. I'm sorry, but a dead dog on the floor with blood all over the place needs cleaned up first.
Right.
Then we can cry if you want to cry.
We think realistically before the emotions, whereas women are the opposite. They have the emotions, then think realistically.
Right.
Which could be very difficult for anybody. I mean, I am that way, man. I am that way. I have only one time in my life ever been hit with a wave of emotions as soon as I heard what was going on. And that was when, I know I've told you about it, my buddy Bill's brother, Johnny, when he passed away. He came to my house, and I was living like an hour and a half away. He came to my house and told me that his brother died. And at first I was just, I was surprised that he was there. But then, when he told me that, I was like, what? I was like, you're kidding, right? And he's like, no, I'm not. And just, it hit me like a fucking ton of bricks, like a sledgehammer, just right to my heart. And it was like, it was a very upsetting, emotional thing, because I had been friends with him as well for all of his life. So yeah, for that to happen, that's the only time it's ever happened immediately. Every other time, it's always later that I deal with it.
Did you cry? Have you ever cried at a funeral?
Yes. Yeah, that one was the worst one for me. That one's always been the worst one for me.
I have never cried at a funeral.
Really?
Yeah, one time I almost did. Man, it took everything to hold it back.
Prevent it, from happening.
It took everything to hold it back.
Well, recently, my buddy Eric, who lived down in was in Virginia. What's that?
Oh.
No, no, not that. Eric,
he's dead.
No, my buddy Eric down in Virginia. His son, he lost his son, and that's one thing I've always strongly believed in, is no one should lose a child. They should not, go before.
The course of things is your children bury you.
Right, they outlive you, and that's the way it should be. But yeah, he passed away, and I was emotional about the situation happening, but I wasn't as emotional as until I saw him become emotional. And that's what it is for men a lot of the times, is being able to see another male go through that pain. And once you see them in pain, it's just like something you can't avoid. I watched as all of my friends from Virginia, all of us just busted out into tears. We couldn't stop because he was up there. He's delivering a eulogy at the funeral home, and saying some words. And we he started, and we all just busted out too. So it was kind of like that situation. That definitely does happen, and I think it's a lot more difficult, especially if you put yourself into the place of that person and where their pain and their feelings are coming from. And at that point, then you feel like you have to experience it with them. Another part of my body also tells me, I don't know if you've ever experienced this, where your body says, you must experience these emotions. You must have this emotion now. It's like your body's pushing you over the edge, and eventually you fall over the edge and you start crying, or you break up, basically,
That's usually when I black out and wake up in jail.
After I pushed him over the edge. Have you ever, cremation or burying, and why the difficult time in choosing that? Which one would you do? Cremation or burying?
I don't really care. Whichever I think maybe for an economical sense, cremation.
Right.
My wife needs something around to come and visit, then let's,
I'd say an urn, dude.
Yeah, but what I heard, and I believe it too, is those ashes, that could be whose ever ashes.
Right, a mixture of
Chances
whoever's
are
there.
it's probably not even yours. Or, yeah, it's probably not even your ashes in that urn.
Or it's a mix of you and somebody else.
Yeah, you and somebody else.
Well, there are places and there are governmental things that do document that sort of thing. And I know there are a lot of funeral homes now that are crematoriums, and those crematoriums have their advertising like, we have a process to ensure that it's your loved one only. So in other words, they have like this device in place to make sure that it's only that person who's getting put into that urn. I think it was a big problem in the 1980s and on, when people were like, oh man, you don't know what you're getting when you get cremated and blah, blah, blah. And I think a lot of the funeral homes really committed to try and make that not be an issue. But then you have the funeral homes that get popped for not burying the bodies.
60 people out in the shed.
Exactly.
They're all dead.
We've been storing them. What the fuck are you storing them for? What the hell have you been cremating? They're like wood. Oh, great.
Cremation or burial, if you're that depressed and you need something around, why don't you just stuff me?
You know what you gotta call a guy with no arms and no legs who's been cremated?
What?
Ash. I know, it's fucking horrible. Anyway, if the goal of most organized religions is to get to the final place, why aren't more of their followers committing suicide or dying on purpose very young?
I think maybe that's, I can't really say that it's in the Bible, but somewhere, I think it's maybe even an unwritten rule that's against the rules. Right.
Well, I've been told that the theological people that I've spoken with, which are usually priests and preachers while they're touching me. No, I'm just kidding. That's so bad. I'm going to hell. A special place in hell for me where they touch me all the time. No, I'm just kidding. I've been told that the reason why that is not the case, the reason why the Bible doesn't even come forward and say, kill yourself now, is that they want you to spread the word of God. They want you to function as the salesman, and that sounds fucking horrible, but there's no better way to put that. The salesman of the religion. They want you to go out and get other people involved. They want you to get people saved. And until you're able to do that successfully throughout all of your life, then you shouldn't die.
Even Christians, myself too, they don't want to die.
Oh yeah, the preservation.
They don't want to die.
Yeah.
In fact, I think we're programmed to do everything we can not to die.
Exactly.
Some of us, I live by a general rule of thumb. Mm-hmm. Generally, there's a rule of thumb for everything.
Yeah.
And a general rule of thumb says it's a rule 4 out of 5 times. It's 1 out of 5 times something different is going to happen.
Yeah.
Like the suiciders.
Mm-hmm.
We're programmed to not kill ourselves, even in our deepest, darkest days.
Right.
We just can't do it.
Right.
And some, yeah.
They have the ability to do it, yeah.
Just stop the car and jump off that bridge.
I don't know how they do it either. I'm just like, that to me is, it takes a bit of courage to do that kind of thing. Every time I've tried to kill myself when I was younger, I lost courage. I just got very, very cowardly, and I couldn't do it. Which is weird because now, in a way, I still look at suicide as being like a cowardly way of fixing a problem that, with this long-term answer, you don't really need to do that. You know what I mean? But then again, I had been on that side where it was like, I didn't want to be alive, and I know what that's like.
The only thing I can say with suicide is I can't even say anything.
Really?
Part of me is just like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Right.
You know how many people you just dragged into
purgatory here on earth?
Yeah, deep, dark purgatory, depression. Do you have any idea? No, you don't, because you have problems, and there are some problems in your head. Right. So it's like, what do? Do I yell at them, or do I not yell at them? Or do it's like, that bomber guy from Austin.
Yeah,
he killed himself.
Did he?
Yeah, he blew himself up.
Oh yeah. The one that blew
A
himself
lot
up
of
in the car.
criminals. A lot of criminals do that.
Yeah. They kill themselves.
They kill themselves before they get cornered, or they usually are cornered.
Right, except for the Florida shooter kid and the one kid out in like Colorado who shot up the movie theater.
Maybe those suicides I can accept. Okay, yep, you did the best thing you could.
Yeah, take your own life. Yeah. And
It's
you had to
over.
take people with you too, which really fucking sucks.
And that's why you got to go now. So you know what? Save us a bunch of headache and do it now.
Right, and yeah, that's still, man, that Florida thing's going to be on the forefront for quite some time. But I honestly think, I really truly believe, nothing's going to come about.
I believe that too.
Yeah, they're fighting so hard, and until their generation goes past our generation, in other words, they start becoming senators and they start becoming a president and blah blah blah. That's the only way we're going to see change, because now you've got the old people who are just fucking crazy, who are just fucking nuts, that are saying shit like. A really great example is Justice Stevens. Have you read the news on this? Where he says retired Justice Stevens from the Supreme Court says that we should repeal the Second Amendment.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, that's never going to happen,
I did
man.
hear that.
That's never going to happen.
No, it's never going to happen.
It's got a rat's ass chance in hell, and that's pretty slim.
But we're going to get a little bit political here.
Yeah.
Nothing to do with death, and I'm convinced of this myself.
Okay.
The right's playing games with us. The left is playing games with us.
Sure.
They're lying to us. Call me a conspiracy theorist. But
Sure.
they're lying to us, and they're keeping us fighting. And when you have the media who loves a shooting, don't tell me they don't. They do.
Right.
Oh, boy, do they love a good shooting.
Of course.
They don't want to get rid of it.
No, they don't want it to be dying down at all.
So if you got side A fighting with side B fighting, you know, well, actually, I believe they're colluding to keep their power.
Right.
And it's just a game.
Yeah.
How many times have you heard a politician say, "And I'm going to go to Washington and work for you"?
Right. Every single one of them. Even our governor, the GOP side of our governor race is just a fucking clown. It's a clown race. You've got the guy Scott Wagner who's running against that guy Paul Mango or whatever. And they're tearing each other up on TV, and it's just the same shit. And it's Scott Wagner, I guess. Yeah, Scott Wagner is calling Paul Mango a freaking liberal and a left-wing nut and a blah, blah, blah. Mango's like, oh, I'm not a nut, and I'm not some douchebag like Wagner. And, you know, it's just, yeah, I see what you're saying, and I know exactly what you mean. And to be honest with you, there's nobody that's going to be able to stop this. I think we've wrapped ourselves into a corner where this shit is just 100% acceptable.
Well, you can't uncork a genie.
That's true.
You will never get us back to pre-guns.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Second Amendment is just not going to go away. It could be changed, which is why they call it an amendment to begin with. But I don't think, to be honest with you, dude, I think it does need to be reworded. The way that it's written right now is very, very skeptical. It's very interesting. You know, there's a cartoon out there right now with one of the kids from The Simpsons. It's one of the kids. That kid, I think.
The cop's son.
Yeah. And he's holding a gun and he goes, "I'm a militia." And it's perfect. It is perfect because he's not. He's not a militia, but he's got a gun. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what I'm thinking, you know, we need to restructure it. The only problem, and I know what you're seeing, is by rewording it, are we going to change exactly how it's fundamentally created? What I'm saying is take the fundamental ideas that it's based upon and reword it to a way that everybody structurally understands what it says.
Dude, though, it's not a gun issue. It is not a gun issue. It's a human behavior issue.
Right, but if you can't modify the human behavior issue, then you've got the gun problem you can take care of, one way or the other.
No, eliminate the behavior.
Eliminate the behavior.
Yeah.
You can't. That's the problem.
What's guns going to do? They're just going to use planes and knives.
No, that's the easy way out
bombs.
of that. That's the easy way out of that argument.
No, dude.
Yes.
If you're nuts in the head and you want to kill somebody, damn it, ain't got no gun.
If that kid,
fuck.
If that kid in Parkland, Florida, had walked in with a knife, how many people do you think he would have stabbed before he got shot?
It doesn't matter. There
It does.
still would have been
three.
hurt.
He would have been getting 3 people. That'd have been it. The resource officer would have killed him, or shot him, or
What?
detained
That
him.
resource officer pussyfooted around, went on.
Right, because he heard gunshots, and I don't blame him.
I do.
Making $13 an hour, I don't want to fucking step into the line of fire either.
No, dude, that's what you trained for.
Yeah, but
That's what you trained for.
and you got to pay me a lot more than that.
However, it's very odd that we hire these police officers to protect us when the Supreme Court says they don't have to protect you.
Yeah, they don't.
So, technically, while that guard, that officer at that school was doing his job, no, he wasn't doing his job.
Right.
But yes, he was doing his job.
Right, he didn't want to be a hero. I can't say this. I blame him. I really honestly can't.
I do.
I can't. I can't blame him because he might have been armed, but to walk into a they put it perfectly last night. I saw the exact perfect thing. There was a conversation between a talk show host and a person who was a teacher, who they were saying we need to arm them. The woman was like, "Yeah, I don't want to be in a profession where I'm going to have to come in armed." And the talk show host said, "Yeah, that's a little bit ridiculous, wouldn't you think?" And she's like, "Yeah, it's a situation where she's going to get a gun out and she's going to start shooting. And then policemen are going to walk into the building and see her shooting and shoot her."
Now, man, dude, they shoot you with if you got a fucking cell phone.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So, they don't give a fuck what you got. If they think you got a gun, you're dead.
Northern California.
Sacramento.
Yeah, Sacramento.
When you know what I heard, and I will tell you the whole thing, what I heard.
Oh, I saw the video. Did you see the video?
Yeah, but it wasn't that clear. That's another thing with the video. How comes...
No. Did you see the heat-seeking video?
No.
Oh, my God, dude. You got to watch that. Try and look that up. Look that up. They had a drone going overhead. It had heat signatures. They showed that guy jumping over fucking fences, going into other people's yards and all kinds of shit. And then finally, when they had him cornered in the back of this one yard, he was crouching down and kind of almost like he was trying to give up or something. And then they just started open firing. And we were like, what the fuck? It's either this guy was maliciously doing something he shouldn't have been doing, which I don't necessarily doubt, but I don't also agree with. Or these guys just fucking opened fire. Dude, you can see the ricochets off the ground of all the bullets that they were firing at this guy.
20 times?
20 fucking times they hit him. 20. And that wasn't
22
even,
to be exact.
They shot something like 50 bullets, man. It was crazy. You can see the video. You can see the bullets bouncing off the ground.
Dude, do you remember seeing in the video where I think the cop said, "Hands up," or "Don't move"?
Yeah.
He said, "Don't move. Gun, gun, gun."
Yeah.
That's as quick as that.
Right.
Don't move. Gun, gun, gun.
Right.
Didn't give the guy a chance.
I know. And and it was a cell phone. It doesn't matter if the guy's black, although it does suck that he is black. It's just the fact that they are wanting to escalate things. They want things to become different. And this is what we want to call for resource officers inside schools. You know what I mean, dude? This is where it's all disconnected. We don't want to put people like this into our schools. Although they did have a rally in San Jose when you remember they had the March for Our Lives or whatever the other day. They had one in San Jose where the kids were saying, "We got kids in our school right now that bring guns and put them in their lockers." And I'm just like,
do you know there was a time in this country where kids did take their guns to school?
yes, yeah, rifles, yeah, and they did what the hell was it? Shooting practice, but it was had a name to it, not biathlon. Shit, I can't fucking think of what it is. Yeah, you're right. They did. Mm-hmm. They did. But at that point in time, man, everybody had so much more of a relationship with weapons, and they were so much more responsible. They weren't kids
it was different times, man. It was different times.
They weren't going into school and saying things like, I don't like you fuckers. You guys treat me like shit and blah blah blah. We're supposedly getting rid of bullying. So how are all these gun fucking problems happening? You know what I mean? These kids are apparently getting dropped through loopholes somewhere, and nobody's seeing the fact that they're getting bullied. And this is what the outcome is. They want to go back into the school and shoot people and get rid of people and then off themselves, except for this kid in Parkland who was too scared to do it. Well, he wasn't too scared to go in and start shooting people, but,
I do not have any answers for you, my man.
Yeah. I just think, I honestly think that there's a certain amount of a disconnect between guns and the argument can go on forever. It's, if he wants to kill somebody, he's going to kill somebody, but a gun makes it so much easier. It really,
Maybe.
really does. It does. It does. It takes a second to put in a bullet and shoot somebody. That's all it takes. But in order to get a knife and to stab them or run them over with a car at the correct time or hit them with a drone strike or whatever.
Bombs are way more impersonal.
Bombs kill everybody.
Yeah, you can detonate that bomb
That
100
kid
miles
lost it.
away.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. You're right. That's true. And the only thing you need to know is how to find the information on the internet. And it's not that hard to find.
I was going to say, you can't uncork that genie either.
Right. So, I mean, we should definitely, do away with bombs. Oh, we have. What do you know?
And people are still, well, it's like drugs.
Yeah, that's true.
People are still getting drugs, and they've been outlawed for years.
Yeah, there's still people getting bombs, too.
So, and they're still getting bombs.
Yeah, they're always going to be able to get bombs. And it's always going to be the outlaws that have the bombs. That's so true. That is so true.
Anyways, enough of this violence and guns. Let's get on to a more wholesome subject like death.
Finish death out here, man. So what do we have? We have some other stuff we're going to do for tonight.
Oh, yeah.
Let's do that.
Well, let's before we go into the lighter side of it, let's finish up and talk about what every real conversation about death has.
Okay.
That is, you got to bring God into the equation.
Yes.
And I do.
Yeah. A lot of people do.
And I know God is real. I totally believe God is real.
Oh, now I know why we love Israel so much.
Huh?
Now I know why we love Israel so much.
Why?
You said it. God is real.
Oh.
God is real. All
Well,
right.
actually, yeah, that has something to do with it.
All right.
The number one reason, though, excuse me, why I know God is real is the fact that love exists. And question, how comes we've never had any scientific studies on love?
We have, but it seems like a waste of time.
Seems like a waste of time, but it's the most important thing in our daily lives.
Sure. It's the reason why we supposedly live.
Have you ever seen a kid that hasn't been loved?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? You see what they turn into?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Miserable little pricks.
Yeah, so what is love?
The finite definition of love?
Yeah, define it.
There is actually no way to be able to define
There
that
we
kind
go.
of thing.
Thank you. Prayer works. Studies have confirmed that people actually respond better with prayer.
Yeah.
And millions can testify that it does. And so can I.
Yeah.
Next reason why I know why I know God is real is we are all hardwired to believe, to seek the proof of the existence of God.
Okay.
In some form or another, even the atheists look for proof of existence of God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, everybody does. I think everybody has a desire to find out whether or not he does or does not
Right.
exist.
Hardwired. Why? Because we were created by God. Anyways, the next reason is space. Vast and large.
Mm-hmm.
Larger than we can even comprehend. All kinds of planets and stars we have seen. We have seen incredible, beautiful, but distant stars and other galaxies and planets. We have seen it. We know that it exists.
Yes.
We know that each star has a possible ring of life.
Yes.
It's different in size and difference than the Earth, but each star has its own ring of life.
If it has planets, revolving around it.
How come we haven't experienced it in any other star? We have seen planets, we have seen stars, we have pulled stars into our optical reach. Mm-hmm. We still have not seen anything in that ring of life. We are the only planet that is filled with life.
Okay.
We are the only planet that is filled with death.
Okay. Yeah, that's true.
The cycle of life proves there's a God. The other reason that I know God is real is the universe operates a set of uniform rules and laws.
Okay.
Who wrote them? Who enforces them? Who made the mechanism to make the mechanism that we stay on this planet? We don't float. I'd float away. Bear! What happened if I were to kick you in the balls? I'd float away.
You're talking about like gravity and scientific laws.
Gravity is a law, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Who makes them? Who enforces them? God. Another reason that I know God is real is the inner conscience, the sense of right and wrong. I mean, if you look at the ant population, they don't give a fuck if they walked over somebody. They don't care if they just... Dogs don't care if they just walk up and just start humping.
Yeah.
Another dog, they don't care. They don't ask. Do you have a mate, another dog? No, I'm just going to smell your ass and do ya.
You're a guy? I don't give a fuck.
Humans, on the other hand, have this sense of right and wrong.
Sure.
Being good. Mm-hmm. Yep. Okay. The constant yearning inside each of us, the search, the want for something more and real.
Yeah.
We're constantly seeking that.
Right. What keeps our drive going? That's what life, the universe, and everything's about. What keeps us driving? Why do we strive to be alive? Nothing else does that.
Not as far as we know.
Everything else, they just have their life cycle and they're done. They're finished. Imagine mayflies. They last, 7 days? Dead.
Or a cat. A cat is perfectly content in being a cat.
Right.
And it does not want a job or a business or to build.
Yeah. Doesn't want to strive out. Doesn't want to eat the dog food. Doesn't want to fucking do any of that stuff. Just wants to be alive.
Eat, sleep, and sex.
Yeah. Basically. Yep. And even the sex is a primitive drive. It's not something that they're consciously thinking, oh, yeah, I want to go have sex with this thing. No, they're going, oh, something aching deep in my loins. I must fuck something. What is it? It's a pillow. I don't give a fuck. I'm fucking it anyway.
It's kind of like, this is what a cat thinks. Oh, this sun feels good. This sun feels good. What's that smell? I want to fuck it.
Or flies. Bzzz. Hey, man, how you doing? Not too bad. You want to go over here to this garbage and fuck a little? Oh, my God, I'm having babies.
Sure, as soon as we eat.
17,000 maggots later. Yeah, exactly.
And the final reason I know God is real, there is good. Good does exist.
Yes.
And there is evil. Yes. There is evil that will shake you to your core and scare you.
Yes.
That comes from God, too.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not totally accurate in that sentence, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
God created the author of evil.
Yeah, well,
and not quite sure why it's there, but it is.
Yeah, it is, man.
But that's how I know God is real.
Okay, well.
Do you want to play a game?
Yes, let's play a game.
Let's play the Dead Artist game. You want to play Dead Artist game?
Dead Artist game. Let's play it.
Okay, now I play a clip from an artist who is part of the Dead Artist Club, meaning he or she is dead.
Okay.
Now, you just tell me who they are and anything else you can about them, and at the very end, you tell me what they all have in common.
Okay.
Besides being dead.
Okay.
Oops. Wait a minute. Let me turn the volume on.
Body. You stay. Beat the shit out of you. We take the body.
Besides, me and Billy found him first.
Yeah, Vern told us how you found him. Oh, Billy, I wish we never boosted that car. Oh, Billy, I think I just turned my Fruit of the Looms into a fudge factory.
That's it. Your ass is grass.
Hold it. Okay, Chambers, you little faggot. This is your last chance.
Is that Kiefer Sutherland?
Yes, it is.
What do you say, kid?
But that's not the Dead Artist.
No.
Why don't you go home and fuck your mother some more?
That is the Dead Artist.
Yeah. That would be River Phoenix.
You are correct, sir.
Stand by moi.
Oh, Stan. Okay. Here's your next artist.
Stand on moi.
And let's see if you can...
Sitting in the morning
sun, and I'll be shitting when the evening comes.
watching the
Ships roll in. Watching the shits roll in. Watch them roll away again. Shitting on the dock of the bay.
watching the
Tides roll away.
Take a guess for me.
Otis Redding.
Otis Redding is correct.
Yes, sir.
Now, what color was he?
He was black.
Yes, he was. He still is.
I'm pretty sure he is.
Here's your next dead artist.
Okay.
Oh yeah. I get around. Still clown with the underground when we come around. Stronger than ever. Back to get wrecked. All respect to those who break their neck to keep their hopes in check, cause so they sweat a brother majorly. And I don't know why your girl keeps
I
Guess?
have no idea.
2-pack sugar.
Oh, 2-pack Shakur. 2-pack of sugar.
Okay, here's your next dead artist.
All right.
Is trying to say is that our new brake pads are really cool. You're not even gonna believe it. Like,
It's Tommy
let's say
Boy.
you're driving along the road with your family, and you're driving along, la la la, woo. And then all of a sudden, there's a truck tire in the middle of the road, and you hit the brakes. Whoa, that was close. Now let's see what happens when you're driving with the other guy's brake pads. You're driving along, and all of a sudden the kids are yelling from the back seat, I gotta go to the bathroom, Daddy. Not now, damn it. Truck tire. I can't stop. Help! There's a cliff. And your family's screaming, oh my God, we're burning alive! No, I can't feel my legs! In comes a meat wagon! Woo, woo, woo. And the medic gets out and says, oh my God. New guy's in the corner puking his guts out. All because you want to save a couple extra pennies. And to me, it doesn't get out.
Do you have a name for Tommy Boy?
Chris Farley.
You are correct, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I personally lost a lot when he died. I love that guy.
June, honey, I got a song I wrote just especially for you. I want to sing for just for you.
What is it?
It's called Hey Good Looking.
Oh.
Say, hey, good looking, what you got cooking? How's about cooking something up with me?
Any guesses?
I want to say Mel Tillis, but I don't know.
Oh, that is correct.
Is it?
No, it was Hank Williams.
Hank Williams. That's what it is.
Okay, here is your next artist of the Dead Artist Club.
You want to know how I got these scars? My father was a drinker
Yeah.
and a fiend.
Yeah.
And one night, he goes off crazier than usual. Mommy gets the kitchen knife to defend herself. He doesn't like that. Not one bit. So, me watching, he takes the knife to her, laughing while he does it. He turns to me, and he says, why so serious? He comes at me with the knife. Why so serious? He sticks the blade in my mouth. Let's put a smile on that face. And why so serious?
Any guess?
You are my number one guy. Yeah, it's Heath Ledger playing the Joker.
Better than my number 2.
You are my
Okay.
number one guy. I'm
Here
gonna
is
piss
your-
all over you.
Here is your final clue in the Dead Artist game.
Okay.
Ready?
Yep. Weird Al Yankovic. No, I'm just kidding. Oh yeah, we're getting copywritten fucking shit on YouTube for this one. This would be Squirt Cobain.
Squirt Cobain. Do you like
Yeah.
this song, by the way?
Yeah, I used to love it.
I used to love it too.
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah. Okay, so there you have it. You have Otis Redding,
Yeah.
Chris Farley.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea what they all have in common?
Uh,
I'll give you the list again. Kurt Cobain, Heath Ledger, Hank Williams, Tommy Boy, 2 Packs of Sugar, Otis Redding, and River Phoenix.
a creek in Des Moines. they all died well before their time. Most of them I would take by suicide.
No, they all died in their 20s.
Oh, in the 20s.
They all died in their 20s.
Really? Otis Redding was only in his 20s?
I know, yeah. That's what it said.
God damn.
Yeah. So.
That's crazy. Hank Williams Sr. That's weird, too.
Yeah,
I'm
well.
telling you for a while.
Yeah. Well, that concludes our game.
All right.
Yeah.
We're finish our gay. Anyway, so yeah. What else we got?
We still have the 10 most important things in life, but we are kind of running out of time.
Yeah. So we couldn't say what not to say at a funeral.
You want to do that?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, let's do what not to say at a funeral.
Okay.
Now, these aren't funny. These are serious.
These are serious.
These are serious.
Okay.
Thing number 1.
Okay.
Are you going to eat that?
What's that smell?
Thing number 2. So now that you're single again. No, these are things you're not supposed to say at a funeral or a viewing.
Okay.
I know how you feel.
Yeah.
No, you don't actually know how you feel. You can relate in some form or another, but
Right.
maybe what you really want is, I am sorry for your loss. I feel your pain.
Okay. That makes sense.
The other thing you don't want to say at a funeral is, he's in a better place now.
Right.
Well, what if you just said that to an atheist?
Right.
Oh, really? Dead in a box is a better place for him? Maybe what you could say is, do you validate parking?
Do I have to leave my lights on in the four ways while we're driving behind the hearse or no?
Can I get one of the purple flags because last time when your son died?
You got me the yellow one. I was all the way in the back. I really sucked. I couldn't make it through stoplights. I don't know. Yeah.
Another thing you should never say at a funeral is, don't cry or you need to be strong.
Oh,
This is one time where it's totally okay for males and females to cry and show their emotions.
Makes sense.
It's totally.
Yeah. It's better that they do.
She looks so natural. Yeah, death is a natural state of life. It really is, and I guess she does look natural for being dead. But
Yeah. Not something you want to say to somebody who just lost somebody. Yeah, that's true.
let me know if I can help. I don't know why that's such a bad idea, but
I guess just because they don't want to have to think about other stuff besides what's going on right at that moment. I don't know that, or it's very awkward to say that, and then people are like, "Well, what are you going to help with?" You know what I mean? Like, give me $10,000 so I can pay for this funeral. Okay. Yeah.
yeah, and that's pretty much what this article has.
Yeah.
That's kind of a bummer there. Let me know if I can help. That was a horrible way to end out that segment. I'm disappointed. I'm going to have to write Jeff and Dan at jeffanddan.com and let them know how I feel.
Let Jeff and Dan know at jeffanddan.com.
Yes.
Or just visit the website, jeffanddan.com, and go to the comment section. What else do we have that you do not say at a funeral?
Oh, that's it.
Oh, damn.
Yeah.
So another thing you probably shouldn't say is, ooh, wow, he really is packing heat down there. Yeah. Did you know that there's just an interesting tidbit? I know it's fucked up, but it's an interesting tidbit. There is a condition where a man will get an enormous erection, probably the largest erection he will ever have in his life, or in this case, his death. When dying, he will get one. And the most common times that this happened were when they were hung.
Huh.
When you get hung, you get hung. It's very strange, but there is a condition, and it happened a lot of the time.
So why does it happen?
No, they're not exactly sure, because they think when you have your neck snapped, basically you lose the ability to get blood flow to your head. So your blood has to go somewhere, and a great storage facility is your schlong.
Yeah.
And that's why it engorges and becomes large. And
what happens to a woman? Her ass gets bigger.
No, that's only if she rubs tissue paper between it. I told her to keep rubbing in between her boobs. She's like 3 weeks later, she's like, it didn't work. And I was like, well, it worked great for your ass. What are you going to do? Yes, so those are good things, man, to not say at a funeral. Interesting, yes. All right, man, very good. We have top 10 most important things to... Oh, damn it.
Oh, shit. Already?
Yeah.
Well, all right. Well, it's time to throw the dirt on top of another Jeff and Dan Show corpse, folks. Before we say goodnight, we just want to thank our producers, Bill and Ted, for another great show of you two guys doing nothing.
69, dudes!
And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for tuning in each and every week. We appreciate you being here. And we would love to hear from you. So if you have any questions, comments, or concerns about tonight's show or anything that I am wearing, please drop us a line. Our address is jeffanddan@jeffanddan.com. That's jeffanddan@jeffanddan.com.
Easy enough.
jeffanddan@jeffanddan.com.
Or visit the website, jeffanddan.com. Go to our comment section or contact us or whatever it is.
That concludes our time together for another week. We hope to see you here next week, Wednesday, 7 o'clock, jeffanddan.com. Until then, pallbearers, have a good night and a great week.